Here's the main portal for SBAC practice tools and resources. You'll want to select the green box for the student interface. That will take you to the sign-in screen. Students can use the practice tools without needing to know their state-issued SSID or any other login information. They simply will enter as a guest. They will have to select their appropriate grade level, though. The offerings available differ according to their grade level. Grades that are being tested this year will have the most choices. The difference between the training test and a practice test is basically the length. Training tests are shorter, but give students a chance to use the navigation tools and other interactive resources. Practice tests simulate a real SBAC test with lengthier reading passages, content area knowledge required, different types of questions, etc. Next, students will be asked if they want to change their settings. If you teach students who will have accommodations on the spring testing, you can help them set those here. But most students will just use the defaults. For explanations of each of the settings, you can read the Practice and Training Test User Guide. The next screen offers a help guide. For younger students or those who have test anxiety, it may be worth spending the time to go through these 3 sections. Otherwise, just jump straight in. Students also learn just by playing around. Once you're in, you'll see the basic navigation tools for advancing to the next page, saving, pausing. So if a student needs a bathroom break, they can hit the pause tool. The saving doesn't work if they're not actually logged in, so for the practice test, that's meaningless. It also won't allow students to skip a question, so the next button only works once they have answered all of the questions on that page. I'll show you in a minute how they can flag a question to go back to, though, if they're not sure of their answer. And then on the right, you'll also see a menu of additional tools. Tutorial, for instance, the students can use while they're in the test, or Notepad, which they can keep track of ideas, such as for a constructed response, or this is where they can flag a question to return to later. They will have to answer it first, but at the end of the test, it will remind them to go back and review. Depending on the type of question given, additional tools might be available. The math tools are basically the same, but occasionally the calculator tool will be an option here. And this menu, as you can see, has an additional tool, the strike through option. This might be helpful for students using process of elimination. If a student uses strike through, this is how it will look. They choose the strike through tool and then they select an answer to eliminate, and it lines through it. Another tool that might be available in certain questions, such as passages, is the glossary. Can you see the very slight shadow box around the phrase folk heroes? Students have the option to click on words that are surrounded by the shadow box to open up a definition if needed. After they answer their last question, the students will be notified that their test is complete. At that point, they can choose the red button to end test and submit their answers. Or if they have flagged any for review, this is when they'll be reminded to go back, and then they can choose their final answer, which is a great tool for students who like to check over their work before turning it in, and certainly a habit that we want to foster. Scores for practice tests are not kept anywhere, so this is a no-risk activity for you and your students. Just something to do to help them feel more comfortable and ready when spring testing does begin.